all. I am Lakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce. I am here to talk about the topic of issue of shares. The issue of shares topics are covered. Classifications of equity share based on share capital, classifications of equity share based on definition, classifications of equity share based on returns, preference shares, introduction of company, characteristics of company, kinds of companies, accounting treatment of issue of shares, accounting treatment for issue of shares for cash, forfeiture of share, reissue of shares, redemption of shares, issue of preference shares, and conditions of issue of preference shares. Company. A company is an association of persons who contribute money or money's worth to a common stock and employ it for a common purpose. The common stock so contributed is denoted in money and it is the capital of the company. The person who contribute it or to whom it belongs are members. Shares. A share represents a unit of equity ownership in a company. Shareholders are entitled to any profits that a company may earn in form of dividends. They are also a bearers of any loss that a company may face. In simple words, if you are a shareholder of a company, hold a percentage of ownership of the issuing company in proportion to the shares you have bought. Classifications of equity share. Authorized share capital. Every company in its memorandum of association requires to prescribe the maximum amount of capital that can be raised by issuing of equity shares. Issued share capital. This implies the specified portion of the company's capital which has been offered to investor through the issuance of equity share. For example, if the nominal value of one stock rupees 200 and the company issues 20,000 equity share, the issued share capital will be 40 lakhs. Subscribed share capital. The portion of the issued capital which has been subscribed by investor is known as subscribed share capital. Paid up capital. The amount of money paid by investor for holding the company stock is known as paid up capital. As investor pay the entire amount at once, subscribed and paid up capital refers to the same amount. Classifications of equity share based on definition. Bonus shares. Bonus shares defines implies those additional stock which are issued to existing shareholders for free of cost. Right share. Right share meaning is that the company can provide new shares to its existing shareholders at a particular price and within a specified period before being offered for trading in stock market. Shared equity share. If as an employee of the company you have made a significant contribution to the company can reward you by issuing shared equity share. Voting and non-voting share. Although the majority of shares carrying voting rights, the company can make an exemption and issue differential or zero voting right to shareholders. Classification of equity share are based on returns. One is dividend share. A company can choose to pay the dividends in the form of issuing new shares on pro rata basis. Growth share. These type of shares are associated with the companies that have extraordinary growth rates which while such companies might not provide dividends, the value of stocks are increased rapidly, thereby providing capital gains to investor. Value shares. These types of shares are traded in stock market prices lower than the intrinsic value. Investor can expect the price to appreciate over some time, thus providing them with a better share price. Preference shares. Cumulative and non-cumulative preference shares. In this case of cumulative preference shares, if a particular company does not declare an annual dividend, the benefits carry forward to the next financial year. Non-cumulative preference shares don't provide receiving outstanding dividend benefits. Participating and non-participating preference share. Participating preference shares allow shareholders to receive the surplus profit after payment of dividends by the company. Non-participating preference share carry no such benefits apart from the regular receipt of dividends. Convertible and non-convertible preference share. Convertible preference shares can be converted into equity share after meeting the requisite stipulation by the company. Articles of Association. Non-convertible preference shares carry no such benefits. Redeemable and irredeemable preference share. A company can repurchase or claim redeemable preference share at a fixed price. These type of share are sans and maturity date. Irredeemable preference shares on the other hand have no such conditions. Characteristics of company. Artificial person, voluntary association. It is purely created by law. Capital divisible into transfer of shares. Limited liability. Perpetual succession. Common seal. separate a legal entity from its members may sue or be sued. Kinds of companies. There are two types of companies are private companies according to section 268 of the Companies Act 2013. It is a company with a minimum paid up capital of rupees 1 lakh or such higher amount may be prescribed in the Companies Act 2013 and which by its articles of association restrict the rights to transfer of shares except in one person company limits the number of its person excluding at present and past employees to 200. The past or present employees acquire the share will while employment and continue to hold them. Prohibits any invitation to the public to subscribe any securities of the company. The minimum number of members required to form a private company is 2. The name of private company ends with words private limited. Public company as per section 2 of the Companies Act 2013. Public company is company which is not a private company has minimum capital rupees 5 lakh. Such higher paid up capital may be prescribed. It's a private company which is subsidiary of a public company. Minimum requirement of public company is 7%. One person of company is a company which has only one person as a member. It is a company incorporated as a private company which has only one member. Rule 3 of the company's incorporation. Accounting treatment of issue of shares. Terms of issue of shares. Issue of shares at par when shares are issued at their face value. The share are should to be have issued at par. Issue price and face value are same. Issue of shares at premium when shares are issued at a value that is higher than the face value of shares. The shares are said to be have issued at premium. Issue price more than the face value. Utilization of securities premium reserve section 52 of the Companies Act 2013 restrict the use of amount of received as premium on securities for the following purpose. In purchasing of its own share, issuing the fully paid bonus shares to the members, writing of preliminary expenses of the company, writing of expenses or commission paid or discount allowed any issue of securities or debentures of the company. Accounting treatment for issue of shares for cash. Full subscription of shares when the number of shares applied for is equal to the number of shares offered for subscription. The share are said to be fully subscribed. Over subscription of share when the number of shares applied for is more than the number of shares offered for subscription. The shares are said to be oversubscribed. Allotment of share cannot be made to all the applications in full. In case of oversubscription, the following 3 alternatives are available: rejection of application, partial or pro rata allotment, combination of pro rata allotment and rejection. Under subscription of the shares when the number of shares applied for less than the number of shares offered to the public, the share are said to be under subscribed. Forfeiture of shares. Forfeiture of shares originally issued at par, share capital account debtor to forfeited share account to share unpaid call account. Forfeiture of shares originally issued at premium and premium was received, share capital account debtor to forfeited share account to share allotment account to share unpaid call account. Reissue of shares. The directors can either cancel or reissue the forfeited share. Shares forfeited can be reissued at par, premium or a discount. In case there are reissued at par, accounting entries are bank account debtor to share capital account. When the shares are reissued at discount, then the amount of discount allowed on the reissue of forfeited share must not exceed the amount of forfeited on reissued shares. Bank account debtor to share forfeiture account debtor to share capital account. Redemption of shares. There are 2 types of shares in any company. First in equity share or common stock and second in preference share or preferred stock. Equity shareholder or consists as a real owners of company as they have voting rights of the company, while preference shareholder don't have voting rights on resolution of ordinary circumstances. However, where the dividend in respect of preference share has not been paid for a period of 2 years or more, such class of preference shareholders shall have a voting rights to vote on all the resolution placed before the company. Preference shareholder are given priority in payment of dividend, repayment in capital, those who are in case of winding up. The rate of dividend on equity share fluctuates every year and depends upon the amount of profit available to the company. On the other hand, preference share have either fixed rate of or fixed amount as dividend. Issue of preference share. Section 55 of the Companies Act 2013 read with Rule 9 of Companies Rules 2014 allows a company to issue redeemable preference share. Section 55(1) puts ban on issuance or irredeemable preference share. term of redeemable preference share. According to section 55 subsection 2 of the act, the company limited by share may issue preference share which are liable to be redeemed within a period of not exceeding 20 years from the date of their issue. A company engaged in the setting up and dealing with the infrastructural project may issue preference shares for a period exceeding 20 years but not exceeding 30 years, subject to the redemption of minimum 10% of such preference shares per year from the 21st year onwards or earlier on proportionate basis at the option of the preference shareholders. Conditions of issue of preference shares. A company having a share capital may issue preference shares subject to the following condition. The issue of such shares has been authorized by the passing a special resolution in the general meeting of the company. The company at the time of such issue of preference share has no subsisting default in the redemption of preference share issued either before or after the commencement of the act or in the payment of dividend due on any preference shares. A company issuing preference shares shall set out in the resolution particulars in respect of following matters relating to such shares, namely issue of shares, accounting treatment of issue of shares, on receipt of application money bank account debtor to share application account, and transferring the application money to capital account, share application account debtor to share capital account, on allotment of money due share allotment account debtor to share capital account, on receipt of allotment money bank account debtor to share allotment account, on making of first call due share first call account debtor to share capital account, on receipt of first call money bank account debtor to share first call account, on making of second call account share second call account to share capital account, on receipt of second call money bank account debtor to share second call account, on making of final call due share final call account debtor to share capital account, on receipt of final call money bank account debtor to share final call account. This is an example of problem. The Full Healthcare Limited has offered to public for subscription 20,000 share of ₹100 each payable as ₹30 per share on application, ₹30 per share on allotment and the balance on call. Application were received 30,000 share. Application for 5,000 share were rejected. Altogether an application money was returned. Remaining application were allotted to the offered share. Their excess application money were adjusted towards sum due on allotment. Calls were made and duly received. Make a journal entries in the books of for company. The application money received for 30,000 share. The application money transferred to capital 20,000 share. The rejection of shares 5,000 share. Making of first call ₹30 and 40 rupees were allotted to a first and final call money. Problem number 2. Luxury Car Limited issued 1 lakh share of ₹10 each at a premium of ₹5 per share payable as application 4 including premium, allotment ₹8 including ₹3 per premium, on call ₹3 per share. Application were received 1 lakh shares and allotment was made to all. Make journal entries. First you have to make a journal of 1 lakh shares for application received, 1 lakh shares for allotment making with premium, 1 lakh shares for first and final call money of ₹2. Calls in arrear. It often happens that some shareholders fail to pay the allotment call money due by the company. The total such unpaid amount is known as calls in arrear. Though it is an outstanding asset, it is not shown on the asset side of balance sheet. Instead of shown on deduction of called up capital on the liability side of balance sheet. Where the company maintained calls in arrear amount, journal entries are calls in arrears account debtor to share allotment account, particular call account. If there is a provisions of the articles of company, director may charge interest 5% period between the day fixed for payment of allotment or call money and the date of actual payment. Calls in advance. Some of the shareholders may pay the balance amount on their shares along with the allotment money or call money, though not demanded by the company. Such amount received in advance by the company from its shareholders known as calls in advance. Accounting entries. When calls in account advance is credited bar bank account debtor to calls in advance account. When the call money becomes due, the allotment of calls in advance will be adjusted against the amount due calls in advance account to particular call account. Call in advance liability of the company. According to the provisions of the articles of company, interest not exceeding 6% per annum is paid to shareholders for the period from the date of receipt of calls in advance of when call is due for the payment. Thank you.